How are you, Andrew?
Good. You?
Good. Not too bad. No matter how bad it is, someone has it worse. So
That's true.
Got it.
That's true.
We're live.
Okay, thank you very much, Jill. Council, welcome to Wednesday, August 26th, the council meeting. Thank you very much for your participation. We're looking forward to getting Mike Scholdice on here soon. We hope we can. And staff, of course, we're delighted to have you here as well. And we'll begin the meeting. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:02. Today's meeting is being held as a virtual meeting due to the declared emergency. In order to keep everyone safe, we are taking this measure to a protective measure to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Although this is a virtual meeting, we will attempt to record, stream live, and publish in accordance with Council's electronic recording of meeting policy. Due to the pandemic and the requirement for social distancing to keep you safe, we are not able to allow the public to attend this meeting. Normally, by attending an open public meeting of the municipality of Southwest Middlesex, you are consenting to your image, voice, and/or comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak may be recorded, and their voice, image, and/or comments will form part of the live stream and recording. Today's meeting may be streamed live as well as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex YouTube channel. Item number 2, Council, on your agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Any member of Council declaring a pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none. Did I miss somebody? Nope. Seeing none, we'll move on to number 3. Additions to agenda. Seeing none, would someone, I don't see any hands up. Mike, thanks. Good to see you, Mike. Would someone entertain a motion that the regular agenda of Council dated August 26, 2020 be accepted as presented and circulated? Yes, Jill.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, Mayor. Just that I think I had mentioned to Council that so the applicant had requested that the site plan agreement be deferred to a future meeting. So
Yes,
if we could just defer that item 8B.
B. If there's any questions to Council, I have information on that. You can ask me later. That was a request by the applicant, a friendly request. So we'll move 8B off the agenda. Will be a deletion from the agenda. And I will entertain a motion at Council's convenience to accept the agenda with the deletion of 8B. Moved by Councilor McGill, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilkins. Questions? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Delegations and presentations. We have Andrew and Brandon with us today. I see Brandon's name in the bottom corner of my screen here. I see he's present. We're discussing the engineer's report on the James Court outlet drain. We will glad to give the floor over to those gentlemen, and they can guide us through the engineer's report. Go ahead, Brandon, if you're available. Or Andrew.
Oh, hello, everybody. It's Brandon here from Spreets. So tonight we have the James Court outlet drain. For those of you who don't know where this is in Melbourne. It's for the vibrant subdivision development, the 9 lots on the west side of town. So we did 2 drains here in the past, that being the Hexter drain and the Melbourne drain relocation. This is the incorporation of the storm sewer, which is in what is remaining of, I would call, Vibrant's farm. So it's already been constructed. It's an incorporation project. It was constructed over the winter by Strickbald Nelly, who is Brent and Vicky Pilkington's consultant on the subdivision. And we are just incorporating the piece that is remaining in the farm property. So the entire drain tonight is 28 meters long. There's no construction cost because it's already been constructed, and Vibrant Properties is paying 100% of the cost. So it's rather straightforward. It was designed by them. It was part of their MOE application. This has basically been on the books for a couple of years, but we were waiting for it to be constructed before we incorporate it. And this report was submitted in March. I talked to Brent today. I believe he's not going to be in attendance tonight, but he has no issues with anything and he's happy just to move forward. I see the subdivision now has the road in, and I'm thinking he should have it wrapped up this year. But if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Brandon, thank you very much. Council, just an order of procedure. Council shall consider the report that's just been presented by Spreed Associates dated March 16th, 2020, and shall give opportunity to any person who has signed the petition to withdraw from it by putting a withdrawal in writing, signing it, and filing it with the clerk, and shall also give those owning lands within the municipality, the area requiring drainage, who have not signed the petition, an opportunity to do so. Thank you, Brandon, for that overview of the work required. The second procedural item on that is questions from any affected property owner who are present virtually regarding this drain. And I'll just give a pause to make sure that we don't miss anyone who would like to speak to this drain that is with us virtually.
So, Mayor Mayhew?
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't had anyone request the opportunity to speak ahead of time.
Okay. Then requests from those, there's no one that wants to be added or remove their name from the petition, Jill, as well?
So the process right now with the electronic meetings would be if someone had asked ahead of time, we have that opportunity, they'd be connected. And now we're supposed to take a brief break to allow them the opportunity to connect if there's something that they've heard from Mr. Widner that they would like some clarification on about the engineer's report.
Yeah.
So it's just a very brief recess at this point.
I have that. I wasn't informed whether there was any correspondence that came in on this or not, so I had to ask that question. But yes, if anyone is watching this virtually, they may want to link into our meeting and then ask questions. So Jill, it's a 5-minute recess. Is that the time required? Okay, that's fine. We have several of these tonight, so it'll occupy about 20 minutes of our meeting. So we'll begin right now. We have a 5
Did you see my cat?
I missed the cat, Mark.
I saw it was cute.
Yeah.
Just a cat.
Oh, Greg's a dog person. There she goes, making another pass. I don't know why she thinks she has to do that.
Get a shepherd.
Yeah.
Sorry, we haven't received any requests for anyone to join after
Okay.
that brief recess.
And we are right on time. The 5 minutes has expired. Comments or questions from members of council that you would like to address to the chair, and I will let Brandon answer that. Council, any questions? Address it to the chair. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Schuldeis.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. This may be a little off topic, and I may have missed this along the way, but will the municipality be maintaining James Street?
Maintaining James Street.
The new street, will we be maintaining it?
After assumption, we don't maintain it until after the assumption of the property, when all the conditions have to be met. I can let Greg answer that, perhaps more wholesome. I hope I haven't misled you, but I believe in order to maintain it, we have to first assume it. Greg, do you feel comfortable answering that?
Yeah, certainly. Then through you, Mayor Allen, you're correct that there is a period of assumption during any development of a subdivision to make sure that all the new public servicing and that type of stuff works and is functional. And you know, that particular assumption time is indicated in the agreement itself.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Thank you, Councillor Schuldeis. Any other questions? Council? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion the council accept the engineer's report in reference to the James Court outlet drain and refers the bylaw to the bylaw section of the agenda for first and second reading only. We'll deal with that later in the meeting. Would someone move acceptance of the engineer's report? Councillor Crothers, thank you. And a seconder for that, Councillor Vink, thank you very much. Any questions to Brandon or Andrew? I'll call the question. All in favor? All in favor of the engineer's report? Thank you very much, Council. Approved. Item number 5 on our agenda this evening, councilors, is the consent agenda. Items 5.1 through 5.8. We'll go through them one at a time. Vouchers 5.1. Any questions? And again, I want to extend my gratitude to council for calling Kristen in advance. She doesn't identify the caller to me, but she does identify the question that was asked, and I saw several come through. So thank you very much, Kristen, for doing that, and thank you, council. It saves an immense amount of time. Southwest Middlesex building report. Jill and I reviewed that and we came up with a description. It's a nice pace. It's not slow and it's not overrushed. It's just nice. Any questions regarding that? We'll move on to 5.3. The Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act information from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing regarding the labor deployment and the safety of it. 5.4, enforcement officers, letter to the municipal enforcement officer. 5.5, court security and prisoner transportation, minister of the Solicitor General. Fortunately, that does not impact us too much. 5.6, school bus camera regulations, Ministry of Transportation. Good change. Always in season toolkit for protection. Practitioners from the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. Very colorful 50-page document, council, if you had time to go through it. And 5.8, Southwest Middlesex Council minutes dated August 12th, 2020. I see no concerns. Can I have a motion that the council adopt the items 5.1 through 5.8,
moved.
including? Thank you.
So moved.
I heard a voice. I didn't see a
So
hand.
moved.
Was it?
Yeah, me.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna take my hands. I got everyone's hand up. Deputy Mayor Wilkins, if you give me the privilege of moving that, and Councillor Bartlett, if I could give you the privilege of seconding that, okay? Thank you.
Yes.
I think
Yep.
quite a few hands went up all at the same time. Any questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Council, staff, listening public, at this point of the meeting, we're going to change into another agenda. We're going to go into a committee of adjustment to discuss two applications, B520, 196 McKellar Street, and B720, 4317 Park House Drive. Would someone from council entertain a motion that Southwest Middlesex move into committee of adjustments to consider the planning applications of B5 and B7 at the hour? Thank you, Councillor McGill, a seconder for that. Councillor Crothers, any questions? All in favor? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Jill. We went in at 7:22. This is a public meeting, and this one, item number 7 on your agenda is under the Planning Act, P8 2020 4317 Park House Drive, owned by the Sinclairs. Members of the public wishing to comment on this application were encouraged to provide written submission to the clerk by email or by mail at 153 McKellar Street, Glencoe, by noon on Tuesday, August 25th, before the meeting, in order to provide comment or oral submission as a delegate during the oral submissions. Written submissions had to include the full names, addresses, and emails and telephone numbers at which those individuals could be reached. Submissions must also indicate if you wish to make oral submissions or at the meeting. The clerk has contacted all persons, if in the event they have written submissions that they intend to make oral submissions at the meeting, to provide electronic access instructions. Members of the public who do not provide written submissions to the clerk, in advance of the meeting and decide to provide comment or oral submission. Council,
Mayor Mayhew, if I may, I think if we're in the committee of adjustment meeting now, is that
okay?
okay?
All right. Yep. I am in the committee of, oh yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. The purpose of the meeting is to give the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the severance application of Jose Sousa and for Southwest Middlesex Committee of Adjustment. The purpose and effect is to sever a residential lot with a frontage of approximately 66 feet on Elizabeth Street and an area of approximately 0.125 acres from a property known as 195 McKellar Street. My apology, my paper, I had one paper out of order here. There is a meeting procedure, Council. There are 9 procedural steps in respect to this. The planner, Stephanie, will be pleased to present the staff report and recommendations and will provide any comment received from circulated agencies and public. The second step, the applicant will be allowed the opportunity to speak to the application or someone speaking on behalf of the applicant. Following that, we have the opportunity as a council to ask questions. There are, after that, oral submissions of delegates and written submissions. And again, we have a 5-minute recess. And if there, in the event there are any people indicated in that recess that wish to speak to it, there will be oral submissions. The applicant will have his final remark, and then it will be a decision of council. Yeah. Okay. Jill, I am on that. Yeah, can you clarify if I'm at the right spot here, Jill? I tell you, I am in the
Yep,
committee
That's
agenda.
okay, no problem, for sure. So I think if we can get Stephanie to come, she is at
Yep.
the stage, she's ready to make her presentation of her report. So I think we can start with that.
Okay, so Stephanie, you take it away. B0520, the Sousa report.
Thank you. Jill, if you could enable, or Kendra, for me to share my screen, please. There we go. Okay, so you should see the map up in front of you now. The subject lands are located at the southwest corner of McKellar Street and Elizabeth Street in Glencoe. The subject lands are designated residential within the Southwest Middlesex official plan and are zoned the residential first density R11 zone within the Southwest Middlesex zoning bylaw. The severed lands currently contain a detached garage that is to be removed as a condition of the consent application, but is otherwise vacant of any buildings and structures. And it has an existing access onto Elizabeth Street and has access to municipal services. And that is shown by the yellow box on your screen in front of you. And the retained lands contain an existing about 1,000 square foot house on full municipal services, and they will need to establish a new access as part of the conditions of consent. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed severance application to create one severed lot and one retained lot for residential services is consistent with the provincial policy statement and the county and Southwest Middlesex official plans, as the proposal is located within a settlement area with access to full municipal services, which is encouraged within the policy documents. That provided staff with a concept plan demonstrating that the severed lands are large enough to accommodate a one-story single detached unit that meets the required minimum floor area of a dwelling of 100 square meters, 1,000 square feet, while maintaining the required side yard, rear yard, and front yard setbacks. Therefore, staff are satisfied that the small lot development policies of the Southwest Middlesex official plan will be met, as adequate space will be maintained between abutting uses and the severed lands, and the character of the area will be maintained. Staff note that as a result of the consent, the front lot line, defined as being the shorter boundary between the line abutting the street for corner lots, changes from being located along McKellar Street to being located along Elizabeth Street for the lands to be retained. This also means that the former front lot line along McKellar Street becomes the exterior side lot line. The lot line opposite of Elizabeth Street becomes the rear lot line, and the new proposed lot line severing the lands in half becomes the interior side lot line. So staff have required that as a condition of consent, a preliminary survey confirm that the interior side yard, exterior side yard, rear yard, and front yard setbacks between the existing dwelling and the new proposed lot lines conform to the policies. Additionally, staff have required lot coverage and the new proposed location of access to be included on the preliminary survey. Should there be any deficient zoning standards, a minor variance application will need to be obtained. And staff note that at this time, there are no proposed changes to the existing dwelling on the retained lands. Staff are satisfied that the proposed development will result in lots that are compatible with the surrounding residential area and maintain the minimum lot requirement of 450 square meters, or about 0.11 acres, and the minimum lot frontage requirement of 15 meters, or 49 feet. Overall, staff are in a position to support the proposal subject to conditions, as it is consistent with the provincial policy statement and in conformity with the county and Southwest Middlesex official plans and the Southwest Middlesex zoning bylaw. So it is recommended that the application be approved subject to the following conditions. Condition number 1, that the certificate of consent under section 5342 of the Planning Act shall be given within 1 year of the date of the notice of decision. The request for the certificate of consent shall be accompanied by a written submission that details how each of the conditions of consent has been fulfilled. Condition number 2, that the owner's solicitor submits an undertaking in a form satisfactory to the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment to register an electronic transfer of title exactly consistent with the acknowledgement and direction executed by the applicants and the decision of the Committee of Adjustment. Condition number 3, that the taxes on the subject property are paid in full. Condition number 4, that the accessory structure located on the lands to be severed be demolished to the satisfaction of the municipality. Condition number 5, that an entrance permit associated with the establishment of a driveway for the lands retained be obtained and the works to be completed to the satisfaction of the municipality. Condition number 6, that the owner install separate water and sanitary service connections to the severed parcel prior to the consent being granted to the satisfaction of the municipality. Condition number 7, that the owner provide a lot grading drawing stamped by a professional engineer and Ontario Land Surveyor to the satisfaction of the municipality. Condition number 8, that the owner provide 5% in cash in lieu of parkland dedication for the severed lot of consent BO5-2020 to the satisfaction of the municipality. Condition number 9, that a preliminary survey showing the lot proposed to be severed and the retained lands with the location of the existing single dwelling unit, the location of the new proposed driveway, the percent lot coverage, and the setbacks from the interior side lot line, exterior side lot line, front lot line, and rear lot line be submitted to the municipality for review, and that a minor variance application be obtained if necessary to the satisfaction of the municipality. Condition number 10, that 2 copies of the reference plan are submitted to the satisfaction of the municipality. And condition number 11, that a preliminary survey showing the lands being severed be submitted to the satisfaction of the municipality prior to being deposited at the land register's office. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie, for the work you've done on that. The order of procedure now, ladies and gentlemen, is that the applicant will be allowed the opportunity to speak to this application or a representative of him. Are there any present, Jill?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, any inquiries that you would like to make to our planner? Direct them to the chair and Stephanie will give you an answer. I'll entertain any questions now. Okay, then we're good. Jill, there have been no oral submissions at this current time that have been registered in advance.
That's correct. So we've received nothing in writing to read at this particular meeting.
Okay, no oral, no written. Staff, we're going to have another 5-minute recess to allow those watching to participate in this meeting by connecting with us and relaying their opinions. We require that 5-minute recess just so that they can get online and look up. It takes a few minutes to get wired in. And if there are any, but we have under the Planning Act, we must do that. So we will take a 5-minute break. Jill, I'll await a nod from you when the time expired, okay?
Yep, I think we're good.
Okay, good to go?
Very well,
Thank-
yes.
Okay, thank you. Jill, have any remarks been received?
No, they have not.
Thank you very much. Then we'll move on as per the procedure. Oral submissions of other participants. Seeing none, the second last item on here is applicant's final remarks, and I believe they are still not here. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. We can skip that. We are at the point now, council, where we will ask for approval of the planner's report in regard to the severance application in the SUSA report B05/2020 with the 11 conditions as part of the motion that Stephanie has entertained to council here this evening. So may I have a motion that the severance be granted on the condition of the 11 conditions being met? Thank you very much, Councillor Crothers. Someone entertain a seconder for that. Councillor Bartlett, thank you. Questions, Dwyer or Stephanie? All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you very much, Steph, but you can't go home yet, can you? Before we go into that second application that Stephanie has before her, I have a bit of housekeeping, council, that I regret I missed. Our last committee of adjustment meeting was July 22nd, 2020, and I need a motion to approve those minutes as they were circulated to you. Thank you very much, Councillor Cal. A seconder? Councillor Shouldice, thank you. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Council, there is some repetition here because each application has to go through the same procedure. We're dealing with 6.2 on our agenda, severance application B is in Bob 7, 2020. Members of the public wishing to comment on the application were encouraged to provide written submission to the clerk or by email to Jill Belchamber or by mail by noon on Tuesday, August 25th. Before the meeting in order to provide comment or oral submission as a delegate during the oral submission of delegates. The written submissions must include full name, address, and email or telephone number. The clerk will contact all persons that have indicated written submissions that they intend to make oral submissions at the meeting to provide electronic access instructions. Members of the public who do not provide written submissions to the clerk in advance of the meeting and decide to provide comment or oral submission while the meeting is ongoing will need to confirm their interest in so doing during the comment recess and make their comments during that oral submission time. We will call the meeting to order. Jill, I think it's approximately 7:44. The purpose of this meeting is to give the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to a severance application by Susan and Dennis Sinclair and for Southwest Middlesex Committee of Adjustment to consider the proposal. The purpose and effect is to which proposes to sever 4.5 acre parcel of land from an agricultural property known municipally as 4317 Parkhouse Drive. The meeting order, as is in the last, the planner will present to staff the report. The applicant will be allowed to speak to the application. There'll be remarks from council members, questions, oral submissions, and delegates, written submissions. We will then have another 5-minute recess. Oral submissions of other participants, should any contact us. And the applicant will have the final remark, and then council will make a decision. Stephanie, can I hand it over to you in your capable hands?
Thank you. So I'm just going to share my screen again. There we go. So the subject lands are located on the south side of Parkhouse Drive, east of Tate's Road. The subject lands are designated agricultural within the Southwest Middlesex official plan and are zoned the general agricultural A1 zone within the Southwest Middlesex zoning bylaw. And a portion of the lands to be retained along the western lot line is regulated by the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority. The lands proposed to be severed contains a single detached dwelling, 2 sheds, a barn with livestock, a silo, and grain bins. The lands proposed to be severed are serviced by a privately owned well and septic system and have an existing access onto Parkhouse Drive, and no change of use is proposed at this time. And the lands proposed to be retained consist of agricultural land and crop production, and again, no change of use is proposed at this time. And the purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application is to rezone the severed parcel from the general agricultural A1 zone to the rural residential RR zone to recognize the residential use of the lands, and to rezone the retained parcel from the general agricultural A1 zone to the agricultural A2 zone, and that's to prohibit new residential development on the remnant farm parcel. The rural residential zone permits limited residential uses. The RR zone generally requires a minimum lot area of 0.2 hectares or 0.5 acres and a minimum lot frontage of 30 meters or 98 feet. And no agricultural uses are permitted in the rural residential zone. And the agricultural A2 zone permits a more limited range of agricultural uses and does not allow for a single detached dwelling. The A2 zone does not have a minimum lot area or minimum lot frontage requirements. The applicants have advised that they wish to keep the residential lot as their main residence and have secured a purchaser for the remnant agricultural land, which facilitates what we call a reverse surplus farm dwelling severance. So G&M Weber will be purchasing the agricultural land to be part of their existing farming operation, consisting of approximately 6 farms for a total of 566 hectares, or about almost 1,500 acres. G&M Weber have provided a home farm address, making the residence at 4317 Parkhouse Drive, built in the 1900s, surplus to their farming operation. Staff have added a condition of the consent application requiring that the land be transferred and conveyed to G&M Weber in order to ensure the farm consolidation and other eligibility criteria for a surplus farm dwelling severance are met. In examining the consent application proposal, staff had taken into consideration new dwellings, farm buildings, agricultural land loss, water supply, sanitary waste disposal, vehicular access, proximity to neighboring livestock operations, and lot frontage size and depth as per section 5.4.1.7 of the Southwest Middlesex official plan. So staff note that a zoning bylaw amendment application has been applied for, which will prohibit any new dwellings from being constructed on the remnant agricultural land as per the official plan requirement. The farm buildings on the severed lands have been evaluated, and in order for the existing barn to remain on the subject lands and be used for storage purposes, the livestock will need to be removed and the barn will need to be decommissioned to prevent future agricultural use. If the applicant is unable or unwilling to do so, the barn will need to be demolished. Staff have included a condition that speaks to this effect. Additionally, staff are of the opinion that the grain bins and silo are considered to be an agricultural use. It would not be compatible with the rural residential zone, which is residential in nature. Staff have recommended that the grain bins and silo be removed off the severed lands as a condition of the consent. Staff note that the proposal as applied for by the applicant will remove agricultural land from production, which does not meet the intent of the official plan criteria for a surplus farm dwelling severance. However, staff are able to be in a position to support the application if the lot size be reduced and the eastern lot line be relocated at the edge of the cultivated area so that agricultural land and crop production remains with the retained agricultural lands. And that has been also added as a condition to granting the application. The subject lands are serviced by a privately owned well and private septic system. Staff note that municipal water is available fronting the lands to be severed and have required as a condition that the well be decommissioned and municipal water be installed. Additionally, as a result of staff's recommendation to reduce the lot size of the lot to be severed in order to comply with the surplus farm dwelling severance policies, a portion of the existing weeping bed would be located on the retained lands, which is not permitted. Staff have recommended that the existing septic system be relocated so that it is fully contained on the severed lands, or that a new septic system be installed on the severed lands as per the conditions of consent. And there is an existing access off Park House Drive for the lands to be severed, and staff have required that a new entrance be established for the lands to be retained if necessary. So if there isn't already a farm access elsewhere. Both the lands to be severed and the lands to be retained will meet the zoning standards of the rural residential RR and agricultural A2 zones respectively. The applicants have provided a concept plan for the lands to be severed as part of the rezoning application and have demonstrated that the minimum lot area, frontage, setbacks, and other requirements are being met. Staff are also satisfied that the lands to be retained will meet the requirements of the A2 zone, as there are no minimum lot area or minimum lot frontage requirements. And the lands are currently vacant of any buildings and structures. That being said, as mentioned, staff are of the opinion that the lot size proposed for these severed lands exceeds the intent of the provincial policy statement, official plan policies, and the rural residential zone, and has recommended as a condition of consent that the severed lot area be reduced in size. Staff note that the applicant has identified that there is a private drain running from the existing dwelling to the municipal drain on the subject lands, which is one of the reasons the applicant has requested that the severed lot extend to the eastern property line of the subject lands. In order to be in a position to support the application, staff have recommended that the proposed severed lot be reduced approximately in half, and that an easement be established over the drain in favor of the severed lands in order to ensure the owner has legal access to the drain. Based on the above, staff are satisfied that the criteria of a severance of a surplus farm dwelling severance on the lands have been met or are capable of being met via conditions of consent. And additionally, staff are satisfied that the requested zoning bylaw amendment application is appropriate. Notice has been circulated in accordance to the requirements of the Planning Act, and the county engineer has said, indicated no comments on the application, and Bell Canada as well has indicated no comments on the application. Prior to moving to my recommendation, while I have this map up in front of us, I thought I would do some explaining. If you're able to see my cursor a little bit there. So the applicant has applied for what you see in front of you is the entire yellow box. There is, under the purple dot is the existing dwelling. And from my understanding, there is a private drain that runs from this house to this municipal drain along the property's edge, as well as part of the weeping bed is going to be located on this part of the property under the agricultural land and crop production. And so what you see here as the gray dashed line The area above, I guess to the north of the gray line, is what I will be recommending the lot size be reduced to. And so with that, it is recommended that the application be granted subject to the following conditions: that the certificate of consent under section 5342 of the Planning Act shall be given within 1 year of the date of the notice of the decision. The request for the certificate of consent shall be accompanied by a submission that details how each of the conditions of the consent has been fulfilled. Condition number 2, that the owner solicitor submits an undertaking in order to the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment to register a transfer of title exactly with acknowledgement and direction executed by the applicants and the decision of the Committee of Adjustment. Condition number 3, the tax property are in full. Condition number 4, that the union and conveyed and transferred to the to ensure consolidation with a farm operation. Condition number 5, that the be regulated in order to keep the cultivated land with the remnant agricultural property to the satisfaction of the municipality. Condition number 6, that the easement for private running from the municipal drain be established on the retained lands in favor of lands for access and maintenance purposes to the satisfaction of the municipality. Number 7, that agricultural grain bins and silo be removed from the lands to be severed to the satisfaction of the municipality. Condition number 8, that the owner initiate and assume if required costs associated with preparation of revised assessment schedule all in accordance with drainage act as submitted, and the cost to be paid in full to the municipality prior to submitting a registered copy of the transfer. Condition number 9, to be relocated on the lands to be severed or new to be installed on other lands to the satisfaction of the chief building official. Condition number 10, that unless replaced, the existing septic system is to be inspected by a qualified septic installer, and the inspection report be provided to the municipality for a determination as to any replacement or remedial works that may be required. Confirmation of the location of the septic system shall also be provided. Number 11, the existing well is severed and be commissioned, and the existing building on the severed lands obtain municipal water connection to the satisfaction of the municipality. Condition number 12, that the livestock be removed from the barn on the severed lands and be decommissioned for future livestock use or demolished to the satisfaction of the chief building official. Condition number 13, that the applicants establish an access to the retained agricultural lands if necessary to the satisfaction of the municipality. Condition number 14, the zoning bylaw amendment that appropriately removes the severed law and retained law of consent fee 7/2020 in full force and effect. Condition number 15, primary survey lands including the location of the well and septic system be submitted to the municipality prior to being deposited at the land register's office. And condition number 16, that 2 copies of the reference plan are submitted to the satisfaction of the municipality. And further, that zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you.
It's 20 hours.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. That's a lot of reading. Council, I experienced Stephanie breaking up a little bit. I don't know whether you found that yourself, but your voice came back at the end there, Stephanie. We're glad to hear you. I'm not sure whether it was my system. Did anyone experience her breaking up? Yeah.
I did as well.
Yeah. Anyway, I know it wasn't your voice, Stephanie, but it just a glitch there, but it came back. Thank you very much, Stephanie. I know this severance was a lot of work. Following the order of procedure, Council, the applicant will be allowed the opportunity to speak to the application. Jill, if they are present, Anyone present? Okay.
So
Dennis is, oh, I see
Dennis
Dennis in the
is-
back. Yes.
Present. Not sure if he's got a camera or not.
Yep. Oh, Dennis, have you got sound there? Can you hear us? Hey, Dennis, can you hear me? Maybe look for your mute button. or
Yeah,
your
I've
little-
unmuted it. It's
Okay, well, I can hear you now, Dennis.
okay. Yeah, I wanted to be clear that there's 2 drains from the house running to that ditch. And like, it's a lot of, I don't really want to move my septic tank and a whole bunch of stuff. Like, that's a whole lot of expense for 100 feet of wide piece of ground. That's actually just a big wide driveway. So, I mean, if you look at where the lot line is, it's the other side of the ditch. And nobody has worried for 40 years about the 12 or 14 feet on the other side of the ditch that I've paid taxes on. So why are we worried about 100 feet today? I mean, did you hear all that or?
I got it. Yeah.
Okay,
I
well,
got
I
it.
mean, it makes no sense to have a little, you can't hardly turn machinery around on that thing. I worked that field this year. I worked it for 40 years and I worked it with Matt's equipment. It's almost, it's narrow enough piece of ground that we're worried about, but I'm not gonna dwell on it, so.
Okay, any response from that concern, Stephanie?
Nope.
Okay, you've done the homework, you know you've got it right. Okay, Dennis, we don't want to cut you off or let you go. Are there any other concerns that you have or would like to express?
I would just like to get it done, but I mean, I'm about ready to call a real estate agent and just sell the whole thing and move on because it's very, very
Mhm.
stressful for something that I've already paid for once in my life and I'm buying it again. So
Council, would anyone like to respond to Dennis's remarks? I would mention to council on this file, I have the pleasure of being in the office quite a bit, seeing Stephanie at work, and this was to council an extremely difficult severance. If you look at homes severed off farms, the majority are around that 1.5 to 2.5 acre in size. And this parcel of land was more than that. And quite honestly, when Dennis inquired about this, obtaining this severance, it did not look good in many aspects of the Planning Act. And what Stephanie has done here, and you can tell from the conditions there, there's 16 conditions there that it's very wordy. And the reason for that being is that Stephanie really had to be creative and professional to come up with the right verbiage to allow this severance to happen. And I know the conditions seem very onerous, but quite frankly, it is the only way that Stephanie could abide by the rules of the Planning Act. And of course, if something doesn't look right and it goes to county council, there's always a danger that they may turn it down. So she can proceed with this severance and recommend that it be granted based on those conditions. And I know they seem extremely onerous, but they are of that nature because this was an extremely difficult file to process. And I want to thank Stephanie for the work she did and our CAO as well. Martin, I see your hand up. Councillor Vink, go ahead, Martin.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Allen. I agree, Stephanie did a lot of hard work on this, but at the end of the day, you have to have common sense. And the septic tank area is in there, 2 drains. You have to understand when you live out in the country, things are a little bit different and they're built differently. And I fully agree with what Dennis is saying. Today's equipment, you have 90-foot, 100-foot sprayers. So it's very hard to turn around in that small area. And so I fully agree with Dennis and Susan that the severance should be left the way it is.
Yeah. No, on the map, it does make sense, but it's just, don't forget that this has a higher level of government that it goes to, Martin, after it leaves us, and whether it would be permitted by that. Visually and from the air, it looks like it is common sense, but under the Farm Protection Act, it can be a concern. Councillor Cowell, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask if Mr. Sinclair was still on the line.
Yeah, I'm still here.
So my question through the mayor to the applicant, would you prefer this council vote in favor of what you're asking for against the recommendation of the planner and risk the severance not happening? Or would you prefer a sure thing, have us vote in favor of what the planner has suggested to make sure that it goes through? What would you have this council do?
Well, again, common sense prevails. As long as I'm here and the Weavers are farming it, there isn't a problem with drains under a field. But as soon as I decide to sell this, when I'm 70 or whatever, the next person, they'll start, if they want to dig across some guy's field, they're going to go ahead and do it. And then we're going to have people arguing and jangling with one another that makes absolutely no sense. And that piece of land is 130 feet wide. And I mean, if we're really worried about saving Middlesex County farmland, apparently nobody's been to London recently, but they're putting lots of it into houses. And we're still going to farm this. Matt will still turn around and plant it as long as I'm here. It'll still have crop on it. I'm not going to cut that much grass. But like, I really don't want to dig up my front lawn and my back lawn to put a septic tank in, a new septic bed in, if that's what I have to do. But since I started, it was like, well, first of all, it might maybe be grain bins, then it might maybe be a silo. I've already sent an application in months ago to do the town water and heard nothing. So I think we're at the point here where, you know what, I bought this place. I kind of like to have it 4.5 acres. If I don't get it, my next alternative is either to sell the whole thing or find somebody in the legal world that will take on the fight, because it really, to me, makes no sense. And I mean, Martin Bink hit it right on the head. You can't even turn a sprayer around out in that chunk of ground, but we want to save it. So if I was to sell this to somebody that wanted to keep my gardens and stuff, there's going to be an issue with spraying and a whole lot of things. I'm just trying to make it easier for everybody down the line, but common sense doesn't always prevail. But I do not want a smaller severance. No.
Okay.
So there's the answer to that.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Wilkins, I see a hand. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. So Stephanie, in the last 20 years, or maybe 19, when we've been doing these severance surplus to the farm needs, we have always tried to accommodate the person retaining the house. Barns, we've left silos in. We've accepted what was in their application. Sometimes it's 4 acres, and that's because the house is set a lot further back. And I'm just a little concerned here too, that to be cleaner and to be neater, it would make more sense to allow that piece. So just for clarification, Mr. Sinclair in his application applied for 4.5 acres, correct?
Through the mayor to the councillor, that is correct.
So it looks like you've cut it in half. So is it fair to say that the retained piece is what, 2.2 acres? Or the piece you're suggesting that in the recommendation be retained?
Through the mayor to the councillor, that's correct. It should be approximately 2.2 acres, 2.4. We won't know the exact measurements until a survey would be completed, but it should be approximately that area.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from Mr. Sinclair, it's not just the septic tank and the weeping bed. It's the concern and the issues with the drains too. You want to comment on that, Stephanie, please?
Through the mayor to the councillor. So not every property is suitable for a surplus farm dwelling severance. As you mentioned, sometimes there's long driveways that make it difficult to meet the requirements of the Planning Act. So the recommendation that I have provided in that we cut the proposed lot in half would be in line with two very important criteria for a surplus farm dwelling severance. So one being that you are not to remove any agricultural land from crop production. And when we evaluate any type of severance, we have to plan for the future. So change of ownership, everything like that comes into play. And we try to accommodate as well an easement over the drain so that the future owners will always have maintenance and access to these. So that'll prevent any issues down the line should it change ownership and a new farmer take over and damage equipment. There will be a legal easement in place to prevent future conflicts. Additionally, all the policies from the provincial policy statement, the county official plan downwards, really only provide these lots to be large enough to accommodate the residential use and the services, so being the septic system and the well or the municipal water connection. So in this case, the applicant does want to retain both the agricultural structures on the land, and this was the best compromise in terms of encompassing both the applicant's wants with the policies that we have in place.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. That's all my questions for now.
Stephanie, thank you again. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Council, any further questions you would like to direct to the chair, through the chair to Stephanie or Dennis?
Mayor Allen, can I make a quick comment?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Allen. I did have a lengthy conversation with Mr. Sinclair with regards to the municipal water hookup to this property. No one's dragging their feet on this. I mean, we are in a process of this land being severed, and it still needs 2 levels of government approval before it happens. So we wouldn't be installing new water connections to the property if somehow, some way this did not move forward. So, we are ready, but we're also piggybacking a process that hasn't occurred yet. So I just wanted to set that straight, because we're not holding up any kind of water installation to this property.
Okay, fair statement, Greg. Thank you very much. Yeah. Yes, Deputy Mayor Wilkins, followed by Councillor McGill.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. If I could go ahead. So I don't know who wants to take a stab at this, whether Greg or Stephanie, but I do have a concern with the condition with the municipal water in the rural area. Did we do that on the recent severance last year on big Pratt siding? Anybody recall? I didn't look it up either. Stephanie? There's water that runs down there.
Through the mayor to the deputy mayor, in this case, the applicant has indicated that they already had interest to connect to municipal services. So that was incorporated. But I don't know offhand if the surplus farm dwelling severance on Pratt siding had that same consideration.
Okay, well, thank you, Stephanie, but here's my concern with that. I know that the applicant has indicated that he fully plans and has already applied for the municipal water connection. I would like to see that out of there. And the reason being, I don't want this to become the standard. My fear is that this is added, it will become the normal practice. And I don't want to see that. So I'm not in favor of that one staying in. So that's just a comment. Thank you.
And
Mr. Mayor, maybe I can comment to clarify again. So this wouldn't be a standard condition on properties where municipal water wasn't readily available. It wouldn't be a standard condition across the board.
I realize that. But it would if municipal water was running by. So that's just my concern, Stephanie. I realize it wouldn't be a condition where there's no water. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor McGill has a question, and followed by Councillor Vink. Councillor McGill, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, I'd like to ask Stephanie, does the existing well fall within that yellow boundary?
Through the mayor, to my understanding, it would, but I will have Dennis confirm that if that's okay.
Okay. Dennis, can you confirm that information or that question?
Yeah, that well is outside we're taking the well out merely as a convenience for Matt. That well sticks up in the field. It's 140 feet out in the field. It's the same thing as the ditch. He's got to work around it. So, it's one less obstacle for Matt to deal with. And I had every intention of hooking onto town water because I really don't feel like fixing pumps and worrying about water pipes freezing when I'm possibly in the south of Florida if I ever get done with the severance.
Okay.
So it's not in the area.
Yeah. Mark, Councillor McGill, did you have a follow-up question?
Well, yes, I do. So it would be my understanding that the well would have to be within the same area as the house for the severance to be approved, would it not?
So through the mayor to the councillor, as a condition, they are, as of right now, required to hook up to municipal water. And that would be, the hookup line would be contained within the residential dwelling. So that would be contained. They would have the water source on the property.
Yeah, so, okay.
Well, would be decommissioned. Yeah, it would have, once you hook up to town water, the well would have to be decommissioned. Okay, Councillor Vink, I'm sorry to keep you waiting so long. Martin, go ahead, ask your question if you still have it.
No problem, Mayor Allen. Actually, my question was answered. I was going to ask about the municipal water situation.
Okay.
So that's been answered.
Thank you very much, Council. We'll proceed through the items meeting of procedure here. Jill, have any oral submissions been registered?
Mayor Mayhew, no one registered in advance to speak to the application, but I have received a written submission.
Okay, and would you like to read, we'll catch that on the next order, the written submissions we're at now. Do you wish to read it or just inform us of it being pro or against the severance? Is it lengthy or?
I'll read it. And it's not lengthy. So this is from Elaine Kuzmenko and Greg Merlot. And their submission says, hi, our farm is located at 4291 Park House. We are in complete agreement and will be fully supporting all of the planner, Stephanie Poirier's recommendations for 4317 Park House.
Okay. Thank you, Jill. Council, we are now at that point where we have to give that 5 minutes again, third time this evening. So, Jill, I have approximately 8:19. So we'll go to about 8:24. Okay. Thank you. Jill, are we almost there?
Yes, we
Okay,
are.
thank you very much. Jill, have there been any requests for oral submissions from other participants?
No, there have not.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Sinclair, Dennis, this is an opportunity for your final remarks if you wish to make any. Anything else, Dennis, that you would like to inform council of? Yeah, Dennis, you're muted there. If you unmute, we might hear you if they're. Or, yeah. Dennis, we'll work on this for a second. Dennis, anything further to say? Send me a text, Dennis, to my cell phone if you have some concern on your mind. I'll just send Dennis a text here. Any concerns? I just sent Dennis a text. If he has any concerns, we'll see if we get a reply. I have a, Jill, I have a reply here. And the question Dennis asked, and Stephanie, you may be involved in this. Yes, go ahead, Jill. Is there a concern?
It looks like he's unmuted.
I'm
Okay.
unmuted now. I just,
Thanks.
Matt Weaver sent me a message and wondered if it's possible to have an easement over a septic tank, a septic bed.
So through the mayor, it's not possible to have an easement over a septic system. We have specific criteria in the Southwest Middlesex official plan that says that the sanitary waste disposal system has to be fully contained with the severed lot.
Okay, that answers that, Dennis.
I thought that's what it was, but I'm dealing with Matt he's texting me too at the same time. So I'm just pointing out to you too, what about the 2 walnut trees on the edge of my property? Because they take a bit of good out of the ground too and nothing grows under them. Should we cut them down?
Yes, there's 2 hands up. The first hand I saw was Deputy Mayor Wilkins. The second hand I saw was Councillor Scholdice. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. If there are no other questions here, I'm prepared to make a recommendation. So whenever, if you want to check with Councillor Scholdice, if he has a question.
Okay, I'm going to work my way through the meeting order here that's proposed in the Planning Act, and we're just about to the bottom now. All right, I'll come back to you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Scholdice. Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. If the applicant opted to stay with his own well rather than municipal water, would the 4.5 acres severance be allowed, given that the well was within this area?
It's not in that area.
The well is not in the area.
The well is not in that area. The well's on the other side of the barn.
I misunderstood.
I'm good with the town water. Don't get me wrong. I'm good with the town water. I'm good with taking down the grain bins. I'm good with all that stuff, but I have a problem putting my septic tank anywhere else, anywhere but where it is.
Okay. Yes, Deputy Mayor Wilkins.
There are no other questions. I'm going to make a motion, Mayor Mayhew, that the application for a 4.5 acre parcel of land from the property legally described as Range 2 Northwest Part Lot 19 be granted with the following conditions. I would like number 5 removed and number 6 removed and silo from number 7. And that's what I'm going to recommend, and I'll make that motion.
Okay. We'll have a seconder for that motion if it's available. Councillor Scholdice, thank you. And discussion, Council Dennis, I don't want to cut you off there. That's your final remarks.
I'm good. You guys decide what you want to do.
Okay, thank you very much, councilors. We have a motion that is moved and is seconded. We'll open it up for discussion from council. Yes, Councillor Cowell, go ahead.
I just wanted to confirm that that's the 4.5 acre parcel in the yellow in its entirety, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And thank you, Dennis, very much for joining us this evening. And Stephanie, thank you very much for all the work you did there. We realized that the Planning Act that was passed in 2007 was proclaimed law by the Lieutenant Governor and Council. And we know that it will go to one other level of government, the county, and sometimes they don't bring them out of the file at all. They never get to county council. They're just approved. We'll see what happens with this one, but I guess as the old saying goes, the money's not in the bank yet. So thank you very much, council, for working through that. And Stephanie, particularly, a great deal of thanks to you and Jill as well.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah,
Nice
you too. Take care.
Oh, wait, never mind. Sorry, Jill.
Yeah. You okay, Jill? Keep an eye on me there. As chair, council, I will declare this public meeting of B7 2020 Sinclair closed.
So,
And we have the motion is intact. And just a few housekeeping things. Number 7 on your committee agenda are future meetings, September 23rd. At 7 p.m. I'm presuming that will be a Zoom meeting as well. And I'll declare the meeting adjourned at 8:34. This segment of the meeting under our regular council meeting, folks, deals with the zoning aspects of this. As you recall, one of the requirements in Stephanie's recommendation was the zoning be changed. And so this portion of the meeting, our regular meeting, deals with that. There is some the public are, of course, able to participate in this zoning because it is a zoning aspect. Members of the public wishing to comment on the application are encouraged to provide written submission to the clerk or mail to 153 McKellar Street in Glencoe. Written submissions must, of course, include contact information, name, address, telephone numbers. The clerk would contact any person if they made an inquiry. And we will call the public meeting for PH 2020-4317 Parkhouse Drive, the Sinclair property, to order at 8:34. The purpose of this meeting is to give the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to a zoning amendment application by Dennis and Susan Sinclair, and for Southwest Middlesex to consider the proposal. The purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the retained parcel of consent B7 2020 from the general agricultural A1 zone to rural residential RR zone and rezone the retained parcel created through the consent application B7 2020 from general agricultural A1 zone to agriculture A2 zone. The order of procedure are the 9 customary steps that we do, and I'll walk you through that as they come. The planner will present the staff report and the recommendations, and will provide any comments received from circulated agencies and the public. Stephanie, I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep it short and sweet. So we were just discussing the consent application in the Committee of Adjustment. It's still 4317 Park House Drive. And so the applicant did submit a zoning bylaw amendment concurrently. And the purpose and effect is to rezone the severed lands from the general agricultural A1 zone to the rural residential zone, to recognize the residential use of the lands, and to rezone the retained lands from the general agricultural A1 zone to the agricultural A2 zone, and that's to prohibit new dwellings from being constructed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The next section is the applicant will be allowed the opportunity to speak to this application for rezoning. Dennis, any concerns about the zoning on this? Or if you're still with us?
I think he has left the meeting.
I think he has too, Jill. Thank you. And just had to confirm that. Council members' remarks. Do you have any? Yes, go ahead, Councilor McGill.
Through the mayor, can I ask you, Stephanie, about A2? It prohibits new dwellings, but does it prohibit agricultural buildings being built? Or any kind of agricultural building, whether it be a barn or grain bin, drive shed, as long as they meet all the rest of the right conditions for them to be built in whatever area they're being built in.
So through the mayor to the councillor, the agricultural A2 zone, it prohibits all the same uses as the general agricultural A1 zone. So it would not prohibit anyone from constructing a barn or grain bins or any type of agricultural use, so long as they comply with the setbacks and MDS calculations. The only difference is that it prohibits that dwelling from being constructed.
Okay, any other questions from council? No follow-up. Councilor McGill, you're okay? Oral submissions from delegates is next on the itinerary, followed by written submissions, and I don't believe either of those have any material to present. And that's correct, Jill? No written or oral presentations recorded?
Correct. We received the one written submission with respect to the application, but that had more to do with the previous matter.
Correct, yeah, I know that. It's not necessary to do it twice. Thank you, Jill. Council, we are again at a comment recess to allow visual participants a chance to participate in this. We must follow the rules of procedure in this public meeting, so we will have a 5-minute recess. Jill, I think I've got around, what have I got? I got 8:39, around 8:44. We'll get back.
Good.
Thank you, Council. Jill, has anything developed in the next 5 minutes? In the last 5 minutes, rather?
I don't know about the next 5 minutes, but we've received no requests to have comments through the electronic tools we've got in place.
Okay. And Stephanie, yes, go ahead, Stephanie. Any concerns you have there?
Yeah, I just recall that I didn't actually provide a recommendation with my planning report this time around, so I thought I would give you one. So although the proposed rezoning for both the severed and retained lots, they do meet the minimum lot frontage and the minimum lot area requirements, the proposed uses are not consistent with the rural residential zoning. And in light of council's decision on the consent application, my recommendation would be that the rezoning application be deferred.
Oh, Stephanie, you really broke up in the last minute. It's just that last little bit. It broke up for me. I'm not sure if it broke up for council. I can't speak on their behalf. But yeah, that's a yes, it did. Councillor Cal?
I'll try that again. Can you hear me now? Better?
Perfect, yeah. Yep.
Okay,
Perfect.
so in light of council's decision for the consent application, it is recommended that the zoning bylaw amendment be deferred at this time.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie, for that statement, recommendation. Can you talk to council and your reasoning behind it, or can you enlighten us on why you feel this way? And is this sticking to the policy, or is there some benefit to the Sinclairs in this? Could you elaborate on this?
So to the mayor, I think maybe part of that you didn't hear the part where I did a little bit of explaining. But the proposed agricultural uses to be on or continued to be on the severed lot are not consistent with the rural residential zoning. So staff would like the opportunity to explore maybe a site-specific rural residential zoning, but further evaluation is likely needed to make sure that the appropriate zoning reflects the uses on the land.
Okay.
Did you guys get all that?
Yeah, I sure did. Every word of it, Steph. I guess I know I don't want to put you on the spot, but this is to tidy up the planning aspect of it, of course. I'm just wondering if there may be long-term benefit to the Sinclairs in this deferment of this. Like what are your concerns, or that it may be rejected at a higher level? Is that your concern, or?
So
Do you want me to speak to it?
Yeah.
sure, go ahead, Jill.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's that what we have heard from the applicant is it's a different use than what it is that is currently the zoning is being recommended. So had the previous decision and committee of adjustment followed the planner's recommendations, then all of the uses would conform to what is being zoned. But what we've heard from the applicant is that they plan to continue some kind of agricultural purpose on the severed land for the surplus farmhouse severance, which would be problematic with a rural residential zoning. So it's about taking a look at it and trying to make sure we've got the opportunity to try to be consistent with what the use of the land actually is, so that there isn't a problem.
Well, I get that. If Dennis wants to have that severance increased in size, and with the lands involved, that would change the picture of the zoning on it. I wish Dennis was here to comment on that. It's unfortunate he's not. But council, any questions? I'll ask council to, we've gone through all the procedures. Council, you've heard the recommendation of Stephanie. Is there any questions that you'd like to ask her? She's provided a recommendation to council, and council will have to act on a report by staff. Yeah, I got a little thing in front of you here, Martin. There you go. I can see you. Martin, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Allen. To Stephanie. Will this just take a short while? For instance, could you come back in 2 weeks with a recommendation, or in a month's time?
So through the mayor to the councillor. So generally we've been dealing with planning issues the fourth Wednesday of the month. So I would anticipate, should we receive no appeals within the 20-day period that follows this meeting, then we would be in a position to proceed with a slightly altered zoning bylaw amendment application at the next available meeting.
Okay. Thank you very much. Councillor Cal, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Through the mayor, I think to whoever can answer it. My question is, if we chose to keep it rural residential, based on the original idea of the land, how would that change the uses, in the sense that we might want it to stay rural residential, and so let's just change the zoning nonetheless? Would it then have ramifications for that additional 2.2 acres that may end up not being, that may be appealed? Is that sort of what we're looking at here? I'm just trying to understand, if we rezone that whole 4.5 acres, is that why there's an issue? Is that going forward the county might say, or there might be an appeal on the severance of 4.5?
So through the mayor, let me see if I can break that down into kind of two answers. So just like similar to any application, any agency, the applicant, members of the public who have written in concerns or have spoken orally at these meetings have the right to submit an appeal. The intent of deferring, I don't think it would, it just gives staff a better opportunity to evaluate the uses, and perhaps that would be a site-specific rural residential zone. If no appeal is made and the local council decision is final, I would provide a planning recommendation based on that decision in mind. So given the circumstances, what is the best, most appropriate zone that reflects the uses on the land?
Okay. Okay, any further questions, council? Is anyone prepared to move the recommendation that our planner has given us? Yes, thank you, Councillor Cal. Is there a seconder for that motion?
I'm moving to defer, just so we're aware.
That was the recommendation, yes. Councillor Crothers, you second that motion? Good, okay, and the recommendation is to defer the application for further study by staff and report back to council to make sure all the parameters are in place. Any clarification on the motion is required, council? That's a question. If not, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you again, Stephanie. I don't have to tell you, be safe driving home, do I, eh? You take care.
Thank you. You guys too. Have a good night.
See you, Stephanie. Thank
Thank you, Council. That brings us to item number 8 under staff reports. Fire, is Chief Hansen still with us here tonight? It was regarding bunker
Yes,
gear.
I am, yeah.
Chief, how are you?
I'm doing well, and how's everybody tonight?
Very well. It's good to see you. I hear you have some new protective clothing for the firefighters. You wanna tell us?
A number of years ago, we decided to, in as much as there's an expiry date of 10 years on these, and we have about 47 people, that we would replace 5 sets a year for every year. And that way we keep everybody current without a big impact in any one year on the budget. So this is this year's purchase that we've done. In the past, we had samples from 3 or 4 different bunker gear workers. It was about 3 years ago now, and we had people try them on. We brought it in a certain size, and everybody that we could get in that size tried them on. Lakeland came out unanimously from everybody that tried them on, a male, female, either station, as the bunker gear that gave the most motion, and I believe they're still that way. So their quote came in. I think their quote came in. It's going to end up costing us $30 more per set, but I'll recommend, as we have in the last 3 years, purchasing our 5 sets of bunker gear from Lakeland this time as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Jill, do we just receive this report, or do you need a motion on this? It's in the budget, but yeah.
Correct, Your Worship, it is in the budget, but given our procurement policy has a threshold that this purchase requires approval by council.
Thank you. Council, I can ask any questions at this point to Chief Hansen. Go ahead, Councillor Cal, followed by Councillor Scholdice.
I just wanted to move the recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Scholdice, thank you very much. Questions for council? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. Chief, thank you for keeping our guys safe.
Thank you so much. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Next on the agenda was the agritourism Gyra Hills application. We deferred that. We'll drop down to item C. That would be 8C. The building report, there is none. Finance, there is none. Recreation and facilities, there are none. In Public Works, 8E is in Edward. Facilities and recreation, that was none. 8F is Public Works, and we do have a quote on a drain clean out here. And I think Andrew can walk us through this. And we have Greg available too, should you need any questions.
It's 21 hours.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Thank you, sir. With regards to the Annette drain, I had received 3 quotes for the continuation of the clean out. And the lowest, as you can see, is $6,510. And that the next lowest is 10,600, and the highest is 28,000. The lowest is R&S Graham Contracting. The work would include approximately 600 meters of brushing and cleaning. And the financial impacts would be, the cost would be assessed to ratepayers on the drain and the road department if applicable, and using the schedule of assessment in the most recent engineer's report. It is my recommendation that the project be awarded to R&S Graham Contracting for the clean out. And I would also like just to mention briefly that outside of this project on this drain, there was one rock chute that needed to be completed from the clean out that was done last year. It was a separate separate project. So R&S Graham was going to do that anyway, and it was slightly over 1,000. It's going to be billed separately. I don't have the exact amount right with me, but it is slightly over 1,000. So that is the extent of what I have.
Thank you, Andrew, very much for looking after our drainage needs. Council, any questions to Andrew on the Annette drain cleanup? Yes, Councillor Crothers, and it will be followed by Councillor Vink.
Yes, I'll just move the recommendation for R&S Graham.
Thank you very much. Seconder for that motion. Councillor Scholdice. Councillor Vink, I don't want to leave you out there. Did you have a question? Or are you okay?
Yes, Mayor Allen, to Andrew. I wonder, like a week or so ago, I was talking to you, emailing wise, about a drain. I wonder when we have these drains, whether you could give the location of them, it would give us a better idea of what's going on. I know a week or two ago, I got asked about a drain and I didn't know the location. And so it makes it a little easier for us to know what's going on and what part of the municipality that this is.
Right. Through you, Mr. Mayor. When I had submitted this, I believe there was a map included. And I had assumed that it was included with the agenda. Is that not the case?
I don't see it, Andrew.
Okay. I will give a little better indication of where that is. You just bear with me for one moment.
Yeah, we have 800 drains, guys. So it's and girls. It's you can't know them all. And Andrew, if you can't find it, you can come back to us another day with the information.
I believe I can give you, I had it with me and the mapping is being slow. Okay, it is on range 2 north, west part of lot 3, between Trillium Drive and Centerville, on east of Old Airport. So this cleanout will exclusively be on Keith Cameron's property, and it will stop at his property line on the east side.
Okay, that's good. That puts it in perspective then for us. Thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you for the question, Martin. Okay, council, we have a motion in front of us. Any more questions? Failing which I'll call. I'll call all in favor. Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Andrew. Okay, number 9 on the agenda, notice of motions. Jill, do we have any? None? Oh,
We did not receive any in writing.
okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 10, 10.1. regarding Mark and Nadia Sousa are requesting a relief from the municipality of Southwest Middlesex for a noise bylaw on August 29th from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. at 108 Main Street, Glencoe. And they're asking for a noise bylaw exemption on 108 Main Street. And council, I'll open that up for discussion. Any discussion? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Crothers.
Yes, through you, the mayor. Could we have read out those two bylaws or the sections 4.2 and 4.10, just so everybody is up on what they involve, please?
If that's possible, I'll have to ask our clerk. Jill, can we give you a minute and can you track those down?
Yeah, I can pull that up. Let's see.
And if they're lengthy, perhaps just the key components of it.
You can see my screen?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got, I think 4.10, correct? Now I've got a different screen up.
Yes.
I think that was one of the requests for exemption. And the other is related to the amplification, I believe. Pull that over again. Yes. So the amplification for loudspeakers. So those two sections.
Okay. Councillor Crothers, one is regarding yelling and shouting, and the other aspect is regard to amplification, and they're asking for exemptions on both those.
So they're not asking for a permit.
An exemption.
They're asking for permission from council.
Permission only, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Council, yes, go ahead, Councillor Cal, followed by Councillor Scholdice.
There's a recommendation here from staff that we approve this exemption from a time frame of 4 to 11 at their residence, and I'll move that recommendation.
Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. Is there any discussion? Councillor Scholdice, go ahead. Are you seconding the motion rather? I'm sorry, Michael.
Yeah, yes, I am. I am going to second the motion, Alan, or Mayor Mayhew.
I saw your hand go up when there was a question asked there, and yeah, all right, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Council, we'll open this up to discussion. Councillor Vink, go ahead.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Mayor Allen. Okay, thank you, Mayor Allen. To Jill, would the neighbors have been informed of this this asking of this 4.2 and 4.10? Were they informed at all?
So through the mayor, Councillor Vink, there isn't a requirement to send out notification when there is a request. So no, we wouldn't have provided notice. It would be other than what's in the agenda package.
Yes, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Wilkins.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. So I think we all, and I'm not sure, I didn't actually look at who was sent, but I did at least receive tonight from the applicant. And if I'm to understand it, and I don't know who wants to take a stab at this, they're just saying they're going to be playing the band music for 3 hours. Is that correct? Does everybody else get that? Yes, okay. So the rest of the time will be a dinner, I assume outside dinner, and it'll be set up and taking down. So that's correct. So that's where the one with yelling or that bylaw comes into effect. Yes, who wants to take a stab at that? Is that correct? Krista, You're shaking your head. Yeah.
I had a chance to speak with the applicant, and she was concerned that the noise from the children that will be there, because she has 3 children of her own, can be considered yelling. So that was what she was explaining to me, was one of their things that she was concerned about. So she just said, you know, there won't be that much rambunctiousness. It's her family and immediate friends, and her husband's Portuguese. So she said, you know, that's a lot of people, just be immediate family. So that's what she was just concerned, and she wanted to be a respectful neighbor.
So the band will stop playing at 10 o'clock. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, council? Yes, Councillor Vink, go ahead. Go ahead, Martin.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Allen. Well, I think all of us got an email from one of the neighbors expressing concerns. And this isn't really like a normal party because you wouldn't have to ask for an exemption of a noise bylaw. And when you have this many people, you would think that you would maybe try and rent a hall or something of that nature. And of course, we are in a COVID-19 pandemic. And so that's another reason not to encourage 50 people to get together at a party. And so I will be voting against this exemption.
Okay. I'm looking at the council. Councillor Cowell, go ahead.
One of the things that the applicant did explain to me was that they had looked into renting a building. However, because of COVID-19, rentals are actually not available at this time unless you have the ability to have significant liability insurances, and for a family party that was just not feasible. So for her, and like I said, it was mostly just her immediate family. And I can totally understand where Councillor Vink is coming from. It is in some ways the idea that's concerning, but I think what was nice in her email was that it's supposed to be a celebration, and it's that hard balance of figuring out what's too much at this time, when the limits, I think, for a gathering at this point are 100 people. So it's, you know, something we're going to have to debate. We see it online all the time. Children are going to be in schools, but we have to keep our bubble at 10. So that's something that the higher levels of government have decided to weigh in on, and I'm not prepared to weigh in on that and be restrictive in that sense.
Thank you, Councillor Cowell. Councillor McGill, I believe I saw your hand up there. You have a concern?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Mayhew. I believe there have been complaints about noise from this residence in the past, but has it only been one couple that has complained? Are all the complaints just been coming from one couple about noise from this location?
Asking the chair, I'm only aware of one, but I will let Jill fulfill that answer better. Go ahead.
So anytime we deal with complaints that are coming in for bylaws, we don't provide any information about the complainant. So regardless of the type of complaint, we don't provide information about the number or who it is. It's confidential.
Okay. Council, yes, Deputy Mayor Wilkins, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Just a comment to Councillor Vink. Actually, this couple has done exactly what our policy and bylaw says. So if there's someone not happy with it, we need to change that. Just a comment.
Okay. Just like to inform council of some information. Deputy Mayor, could you take the gavel very briefly, only for 30 seconds or so? Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Mayhew. And I take it you have something you want to speak to, so I will allow you that opportunity.
Just, information to council that might help make it. I was just thinking back in time here, and it wasn't a very long time ago that I used to be a musician and play in outdoor parties, and it's the only time I've ever been a union member. We were with the chapter of Chatham, and the union was the American Federation of Professional Musicians. And at that time, we played throughout Ontario, and we played at sometimes some very big parties. And at that time, there were rules and regulations that live music at an outdoor party, there would be 3 sets. So an example of this, that you would play from 7:30 to 8, you would play 8:30 to 9, and you would play 9:30 to 10, and you would quit. And those were the rules because it gave the musicians what they call a half-hour set with a half-hour break. And they would do that 2 more times, so that they would have 90 minutes of live music, and the balance of the time would be recorded music from a ghetto blast or something like that. And those were circumstances laid down by the federation we belonged to at the time, the union we belonged to, that there were guidelines that seemed to make it a little more appealing to communities. And many of these gigs were for charitable reasons. I can remember many of them were in the facility of Cedar Springs, if you remember, had many facilities there, and it's a requirement when you're in a union to play those free gigs. But we had strict guidelines that we would play in half-hour intervals with a half-hour of peace, so to speak, and then we would resume again. We do that 3 times. So, and we had to be done by 10 o'clock. We couldn't go on. That's why you stagger it. So that was a compromise at the time, and I just want to apprise council of that, because there are recommendations that council could make that would accommodate the partiers and the neighbors as well. So thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I'll say no more.
You're welcome.
Council, any other questions? If not, we have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation that's been made. I'll call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, council. We'll just find our place on the agenda here.
We're at number 11.
We are, okay, I've got a sticker. Yeah, somebody got a stick ticket over it. Unfinished business, council. Give you a minute to think about that. I have none on my agenda here.
So, Mayor Mayhew, so unfinished business is only when we have something from the previous agenda that didn't get completed.
Okay, I'll realize that, and there is none. Okay. New business, items on the consent agenda, there were none. County council, information, county council and conference updates. Just a reminder that I encourage all of council, if you, and I know you have received a survey regarding community safety and well-being plan, the community safety and well-being plan. It is an important research by the County of Middlesex, and we urge all councillors to fill that survey out. If you haven't done so, please get it filled out at your earliest convenience. I'm sure if you have any technical difficulties, our staff will be happy to help you, and please keep that in mind. Also want to just advise you that I want to thank Jill for arranging the delegations for Southwest Middlesex at the AMO conference. It was extremely well done. It was a virtual conference, and I had suspicions about it, but my gosh, I was extremely pleased and enjoyed it immensely. I think you could take in as much or more than you could at a conference where you're running from room to room. Jill had delegations with the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture and Food and Rural Affairs. the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Infrastructure. And for a small municipality, that is an extremely fortunate itinerary to go through. And during our time with these ministries, speaking to the minister or his or her assistant, we expressed concerns about farm tax ratios, suggested increased efficiencies between municipalities and the province with modernization practices that would assist our staff and reduce costs. And just before I forget, I want to thank Councillor Cowell and Councillor McGill for their presentations there. They were very much appreciated. And Deputy Mayor Wilkins, your support is always appreciated at those conferences as well. But we did enjoy it, and that I can move on from there. And thank you, Jill, for arranging those. Let me see. Anything else I've got? No. I thank you guys. Talked about who we saw. Jill, there's no closed sessions on item 15.
Correct.
Well, there are the bylaws are in front of you, and bylaws 1 to 7. They require first, second, and third reading with the exception of number 5. Number 5 requires a first and second reading. So could I have a motion that the bylaws receive first, second, and third reading with the exception of number 5, first and second reading?
Well, just if I can, Mayor Mayhew, just with respect to the bylaw related to the zoning amendment, that'll just be deferred.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
I have a question about electronic participation in meetings.
Yes, go ahead, Pastor Gal.
I believe you're permitted to rejoin the meeting either. I think it was section 6.3, number G, where the language talked about if the member had to leave the meeting, they would not be permitted to rejoin the meeting either electronically or in person. And I was just hoping that council would be willing to have a slight adjustment to that, would not be willing to, what was the word I used?
Not be able to participate.
Participate, that was the word. Would not be able to participate until after the vote, because the implication there could mean that you cannot come back to the meeting at all. But I think the intended implication was that if for some reason you are disconnected from the meeting and you lose a bit of the conversation after a motion has been made, you shouldn't be voting on it if you haven't heard all of the details and the questions in the debate. So I didn't want it construed as you couldn't come back to the meeting at all.
Okay, Jill, we're on bylaws. Number 4 is deferred. Number 5 will receive first and second. I can split these up for you, council, or I can do it in one motion. You will accept.
No. Mayor Mayhew, I'll make a motion for first, second, and third for 1, 2, 3, and 7.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
With the following amendment that the Councillor Cowell made, is that correct, Deputy Mayor?
Sure, absolutely.
and the Charlton has been deferred. The zoning has been deferred. Okay. Council, any more questions? All in favor of the motion?
You need a seconder.
Oh, seconder. Oh, there isn't. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Schuldice. All in favor? Carried. Item 17, council future meetings are the September 9th and 23rd.
We just need a mover and a seconder, and then the bylaw for just the first and second reading.
Okay, all right. First and second is
Number
bylaw 5, mover. Yes, thank you, Councillor McGill. Yeah. And had a mover and a seconder for that, Jill. Are we complete on that?
So I got Councillor McGill.
And who's second? Councillor Crothers.
Councillor Crothers, thank you.
Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Carried. Okay, put your hands down. Yes. Are these questions? Go ahead, Councillor Vink. You have a question? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Vink.
Yes, that's Mayor Allen. I had my hand up a little while ago because I wanted to point out that I wasn't going to vote yes for the bylaws. I'm against bylaw number 2, I believe it is, the Southwest Middlesex meeting schedule. So I just want to point that out.
Okay. All right. Councillor Scholz, go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I just wondered, did we skip over councillor comments and inquiries?
Yeah, we may have done that, Mike. Yeah. What item is it on the agenda?
I don't see it, actually.
I don't see it. That's why we skipped over it. And yes, the chair will entertain that by all means. Yeah, go ahead. Council comments and inquiries. Go ahead, Michael.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I had a call from a resident at 181 Main Street, Glencoe, with concerns about the new street lights. He looked at the new plan and realized that 2 lights at the corner of Main and Concession will be replaced with just 1. This is the United Church corner. Given that his house has been struck 7 times in the last 50 years, I can understand his concerns that there will not be adequate lighting for this busy intersection. And he would like to know if intersection lighting has been taken into consideration with this new plan.
It has been taken into consideration, and that intersection has been taken into consideration. And I received a call from the same individual, and I spoke to to Mr. Storms about it. And I can let Greg continue on, but he assured me that they're aware of the history. That is both county road intersections, and I was inclined to believe that it was going to be looked after. Greg, could you comment on this at all or get me through this? But we did have a brief discussion on this.
Yeah, certainly. Through you, Mayor Allen, that was part of the discussions. The preliminary information that was also presented to council was just a preliminary design. That design has now been enhanced, and certainly through the through Luminaire's engineers to provide the proper lighting downtown. The other thing to consider is that these particular lights that we are going to be putting downtown are completely adjustable, so that we can we have flexors on every one, so that we can turn certain lights up and have other lights down. At the same, just my experience with lights, whether street lights itself, you can have too much light as well. And if people have trouble sleeping because we've increased the amount of light, that can be an issue. So it's one of the reasons that we got flexors put on these lights downtown, so that we could regulate lights based on where they're going to be. So I just got the revised plan today, and it will be reviewed tomorrow and sent back to the engineers from King Luminaire. And I think that we're going to cover off the lighting issues downtown that we have. I mean, we could have all kinds of more light downtown, but I mean, if people have trouble sleeping and it is lighter than it was before, those will be issues as well. So certainly the intersections that we all have, that was taken into consideration when the engineers did the final design, which I just received today. So I'm certainly aware that we had given information as part of the council meeting to start this project, but that lighting design has been redone to accommodate some of those areas that me and you talked about. So I don't know who that person would be, but certainly we're always available to take phone calls from people and to answer residents' questions with regards to the downtown lighting system. So I will give you a few comments on that with regards to that project moving forward. There has been a fair bit of work put into that in the last week and a half with the contractor as well as King Luminaire. And our goal is to try to make this happen downtown with very little impact on vendors. And I'm satisfied at this particular point that the contractor has a good plan, And, so our hope is to install the new system and then make a one-day switch over to from the old system to the new system, and then remove the old system and then cover all that back up. So it was a good meeting with everybody involved. And, are we going to solve everybody's issue? Well, that's our goal, but you know as well as I do that, sometimes that's just not possible. But I think with the facts that we have flexors on these lights is a really good thing. We can turn them, down, as low as 50 watts and turn them up as high as 125. So, I mean, we'll have that ability to respond, which we don't right now. So, and also keep in mind that, the existing lighting system itself has lights on top, and these new lights will all have arms on them so that we will have the coverage. We're not dealing with an organization and groups from King Luminaire and Stress Creek. That's all they do is downtown lighting, and that's all what these engineers design. And I'm quite satisfied with what I got today. But again, I mean, at any time we'll work with whoever to make sure that the vendors aren't impacted downtown, and that we do provide new proper lights, not just for lighting, but also to accommodate our flag programs and our flower pot programs and everything that we do in the downtown. So, I can provide those kind of questions as well to the engineers that we're dealing with. So, I would encourage councilors that if they have somebody that have those questions, to give me a call and we'll talk to the engineers and we'll get answers for people. So that's what we do every day.
Okay. Thank you, Greg, very much. And, the direction of the lighting is very important. It can be light pollution if it's not going the right way. And with the arms, we'll have more lighting over top of our roadway as opposed to our boulevards and that. So it sounds good. And I had the same question and the same concern. I immediately went to Greg on it, Councillor Scholdice, and we'll keep that comment on our radar. Okay, councillors' comments and inquiries. Any more? Michael, follow-up question there?
It's not a follow-up. Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. It's not a follow-up. It's a different subject, if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I've been contacted by 2 former members of Communities in Bloom about the condition of the arboretums. The contractor who did the installation has also voiced some concerns. I realize that we are dealing with a pandemic and are experiencing changes in staffing, but can I assure these folks that work is scheduled to be done to clean up these areas?
Yes, I think you can assure them. I don't want to, Jill may be able to speak on that, but from the mayor and from the chair, yes, you can assure those people that work will be commencing on those shortly. They're a concern of ours as well. And Jill and I have talked extensively on this, and we are in the process now of formulating a strategy to make them look as they should. Jill, I've worked with you on this. We've been a team on this. Is there any further comment you'd like to make?
I just was going to say thank you, Mayor Mayhew, because yes, I think you heard some comments and you shared that with me earlier, and it gave me the opportunity to reach out to both the contractors who cut the grass there, as well as to the contractor who helped with putting the landscape into place. So I've had those discussions, and he's going to help us out a little more and just get that feedback from the ones that cut the grass there and provide a little more direction on them. So I appreciate that from you, Mayor Mayhew. I think I just had a conversation with Mr. McMillan this afternoon just to follow up. So.
Yes, yeah, and it is. And I want to thank Councillor Crothers as well. He knocked on my door the other day with some apparatuses that are available to address that issue in a permanent and environmentally safe manner as well. It was that's being considered as well. Many times there's been some concern about using Roundup. It has hit the news recently, as all of you know. And there is sometimes a propane torch stick. Propane on a torch stick can readily get rid of these weeds too. It's an instantaneous kill. It kills right down to the root, and it's fast. We want to make it very effective. It has to be effective, It has to be safe to use for our public, and we don't want to be too onerous on our employees that have to administer this work. We want to be able to do it in such a manner that it's safe for them as well. So I think this will come together fairly quickly, Councillor Scholdice, over the next week, I believe, or 10 days, within the next 10 days. Thank you. Councillor Crothers, go ahead.
Yes, through the mayor to Greg, just to follow up on the lights, do you have a rough timeline yet when this is going to take place? Is that this year or possibly in the next year?
Through you, Mayor Allen, good question, because this is a big part of the conversation we had the other day. It's going to happen as soon as we possibly can. So the goal is it's going to take us from anywhere from 6 to 9 weeks to get the poles, but that doesn't mean we can't start construction downtown. So we're going to once the contractor has the complete plan in place, I've asked for another pre-construction meeting with our roads department, as well as the contractor and King Luminaire, just to make sure that we're going to get the right notices out, and that we're going to, my goal is to try not to affect any vendors downtown. So I want it done as soon as possible, but it's not contingent on the poles arriving before we can actually start the project. So I would say that after Labor Day, you'll see some action downtown.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Mayor Allen, can I make a quick comment? Just it's not even in Public Works, and hopefully Jill's not going to get mad at me or anything, but it's in recreation and has to do with the arena. And I just wanted to let council know that I will be with Jill bringing a report at the next meeting of council as far as opening of the arena and the associated protocols with that. And that our goal at this particular point, based on the numbers that we're getting right now, is to bring up a report forward that not only outlines the protocols and the operational changes that we would have in the building, but to move forward and try to get this building open for our local users in minor hockey and figure skating and all our casual arena users. So from the preliminary information that I have researched in the last day or two, we are getting some numbers that are very close to the rental numbers that we had last year. So I see no reason why we can't move forward with opening the arena, but also realize that council needs to be 100% involved in this decision. They need to be informed and they need to support this, as well as our plan needs to be vetted through the health unit to make sure that when we do open the arena, and work with minor hockey and work with figure skating and work with all our users, that everybody who uses the facility, does so in a safe way. So I don't want council to be surprised, and that is something that we will be working on in the next 10 days. I have been communicating with minor hockey on this, and we had some good communication today with the figure skating club. I'm sure there's going to be questions and there's going to be some anxiousness in the community in the next couple of weeks while we do this. But at the same time, we're going to be moving forward and asking council to support this staff report that we're going to be bringing on the 9th. So hopefully that's okay, Jill. But I thought I could get that out there tonight if we, while everybody was together. So
I'll talk to you after the meeting, Greg. No, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Greg, for that. Thank you, Jill, and keep an eye on him, Jill. Councillor Cal, go ahead.
Thanks. Just to touch on a little bit through the mayor to Greg, what you were talking about with regards to the arena. I know that we have, I believe, a rec committee meeting, I think, scheduled or potentially coming up. However, I think it would be valuable when considering some of the safety requirements to keep our major users like the minor hockey and skating in the loop. There's quite a few volunteer hours that are required of the parents, and as a result of there not maybe being so many events happening that would normally use those volunteer hours up. I know when taking our surveys for skating, the expectation would be that some of the parents, if they feel comfortable to do so, would be responsible for screening at the door, and they would be willing to be responsible for screening at the door, and they would be willing to take attendance of the people who are coming into the building for contact tracing needs if necessary. While sanitizing might be beyond their limits. That was one of the questions as to whether or not they had people who would be comfortable doing that. In my talks with the minor hockey, they are looking, they have restrictions set on them by the OMHA. So they need to make a decision about where they play this year because it is impacted by which health unit. So for them, they cannot play games outside of their health unit. And as you know, our hockey, minor hockey, has traditionally been split between Glencoe and Bothwell, and those are two separate health units. So they are looking to have some kind of reassurance about what access they will have to our ice, and they are willing to be flexible and to accommodate. But I think when putting this plan forward, there's been a couple of different things come up, two different sides. There are some arenas that may not open for the season, and there are some programs that might not go forward. For example, some skating that requires hands-on access with the children. For example, like with swimming lessons, we changed it so that a parent has to be on the ice. And in some circumstances, insurance can cover that, and in some circumstances it can't. So depending on the program, the children may not be skating this year. So it could result in less programs that the different clubs can run. So my only thought going forward was that there may be spaces for ice time in other areas, but there might not be. There might be communities, for example, Mount Bridges has required a 50% commitment of ice time before they will commit to opening. And that could mean that we could have a spillover if they decide not to open. And I would just like to consider settling the minds of our local users like minor hockey and skate club, that they will be the priority when booking time in.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cal. Greg, thank you very much for that update.
Just quickly, I do agree with Councillor Cal, and I have spoken with both those organizations, minor hockey. We met this morning, and certainly some emails has been exchanged back and forth, and we did get a request from the figure skating club. We certainly know that what the regional makeup is of other arenas at this particular point, with Bothwell not being open or not, saying that they're going to be open. Certainly, we're dealing with Strathroy Caradoc as well, that they don't have their older arena that's going to be open, and Mount Bridges is subject to not being open as well. So we will have a regional look at this, and at the same time, I mean, our protocols, our health unit protocols, are no good without knowing what the actual impacts the Ontario Hockey Federation has made with minor hockey systems, as well as the figure skating, Ontario Figure Skating Association and figure skating. But you're correct. I mean, are we going to be able to run can skate programs through figure skating? I guess that's where we're going to need these people to tell us what their protocols are going to be as well. So I don't intend on bringing anything forward until we can share that information with those two particular groups anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Jill, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, we'll talk about ice. So I have had the opportunity to also sit in some of the recreation director, recreation manager meetings with the county that would bring updates to both council and the emergency control group about. And I do think that we will certainly be having those conversations with them, and Greg's already helped to arrange for a walkthrough of one of our neighboring municipalities, their arena, as they've already been running, to see what the protocols are. So some of that consistency, I think, will be helpful when you're talking about the types of things that have been discussed here just briefly tonight, where you've got limited groups that can go different places. So if we've got some folks that are going to be in our arena, it's good to have protocols that are in the next arena down the street that they're going to be in, the next week or two. So that's been very helpful as well. And we shall carry on with trying to make sure we're providing some recreation services to the community in light of a couple of challenges. So thanks very much.
Okay, well, thank you and staff for expressing interest. Any other urgent concerns? And please, I remind all that staff are always available for your calls and your inquiries. And I think I probably refer at least 3 or 4 people daily, Jill, to staff probably. Thank you very much. The chair, any other questions? The chair moves adjournment. Thank you at 9:45. Bye.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
Good night.